Go ahead.
Hey guys, welcome to the Graphmasters. Rick Fishback, Brent Algio, these guys are two of the very, very best in the industry, and we're going to be bringing you some awesome content. Guys, I want you to introduce yourselves, tell us where you're from real quick, and then just tell us what units you run on your boat, just so people can get a familiarity of what we're going to be talking about here. This is Rick Fishback.
Hey guys, Rick Fishback, Fairgrove, Missouri, just north of Springfield. I run a 3-graph system on my boat. I run 312 Helixes with a 360. I am one boat networked also though, with 2 Talons, 2 12-foot Talons, and they're all networked together. That's the choice that I chose to run this year. I know Brent runs a little different. What are you running, Brent?
Well, Brent Algio here. I've got also a 3-graph system this year. I used to run a 4-graph system. This particular year, I'm running a 15-inch Solix on the console. It was a little bit of some work in progress, but that's where I went, and I'm going to go through later on in some other content why I went that way. 2 12-inch Solix on the front, stacked them on precision sonar mounts with the 52-inch Ultrex. Obviously 360 on there is a must. We live and die by 360. I mean, honestly. 12-foot Bluetooth Talons on the back with tilt-down brackets so I can get underneath bridges and so on and so forth. That's what I'm running. You know, everything, obviously one boat, one network. We can control things through our units however we need to. And, you know, we're just here. We're going to give you 2 different personalities, two different looks at things. You know, Rick and I, we fish a lot of different bodies of water, but we also fish a lot of the same bodies of water. And, you know, we don't fish together. We've never fished together. So, you know, we have some of the similar styles, but it's going to be neat to kind of compare and contrast how I do things, how you do things. And then obviously, we've got a network of Graphmasters out here already building. I mean, we're over 3,000 strong already in just a month.
Unbelievable.
And it's unbelievable. And, you know...
and the knowledge amongst those people is crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, and you and I don't know everything by any means.
No.
And, you know, that's what we're going to do is bring you an avenue to, you know, to educate yourself and just, you know, kind of a family of Johnson Outdoors products and hopefully to, you know, educate people and attain value.
So everybody wants to know, what's a Graphmaster? You guys have come to this page, you guys have seeked us out, your friends invited you. So tell us, what's a Graphmaster? I mean, what in your mind, what's a Graphmaster?
Well,
Brent?
my opinion, a Graphmaster is not a term of arrogance or anything of cockiness. It's a term, you know, we coined it and literally in your kitchen. We kind of laughed for a second about it, and we're like, you know what? And the more I thought about it, it's a Graphmaster is somebody that has attained the knowledge and tools with his or her Minn Kota Humminbird products to get the value out of them that they paid for. Whether that's to win tournaments, whether that's to go to fish as a career with a guide or as a tournament angler, or whether it's just to show your father or your son or your daughter neat stuff on the bottom and catch more crappie on Saturday and Sunday.
Absolutely. Get the best value out of the electronics you're running.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and so in my opinion, a Graphmaster is someone that is confident and comfortable with their equipment, that they don't have to be messing with it all the time, that they can use it and enjoy it. And it's more of a second nature thing versus what am I going to have to do now? What do I got to push here? What do I got to do here?
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
And, you know, something we never have really touched on before, you know, with the Graphmaster guys, we are strictly Humminbird and Minn Kota related electronics. We don't dive into anything else. That's all we talk about is Humminbird and Minn Kota electronics. You know, that's something we never really even said in the beginning, you know.
Right.
That's what we're focused on. That's what we're good at. That's what we're going to share with you guys is, you know, what we've learned with them and our experiences.
Absolutely. And, you know, when we started this, we all agreed. We sat down and we all agreed. There's no negativity. There's no drama. There will be no allowance of you know, bashing another group or down talk to anybody. A lot of companies make a lot of great products. This is the product we use. This is the avenue we choose to help educate people. You know, in this.
It's what we're familiar with too.
Correct.
What we're good with.
Correct.
You know, for sure. Not the best, but this is what we're good at.
So we talked about what is a Graphmaster, and we kind of talked about a little bit of the goals of the Graphmaster, but what's the long-term kind of ideas of what we're going to try to do going forward as far as just what we want to give people on setting up their electronics? And we're going to start real basic, guys, and really start from the ground level, from taking it out of the box for the guy that's very first or the gal that very first brought a Johnson Outdoors product. And we're going to break that down from that start. And then what are we going to do from there?
I think this kind of the sky's the limit. You know, and a lot of it, I think we need to let that feed from our Graphmaster following community.
Yeah, I mean, just like the page has already started, you know, we have, I would hate to guess how many questions we've had on there and how many answers we've had to people having problems or issues, or maybe they're just looking to buy a Johnson Outdoor product,
right,
and somebody steering them the correct way. Maybe they don't need a 10, maybe they just needed a 7, or vice versa.
Right.
Maybe they want to make a one boat network. How do we go about that? I mean, our pages, in my opinion, that's what it's there for.
Right.
You know, to ask those kind of questions that you just might necessarily not be able to open a book and get.
Right. And there is no stupid question, and that's starting point one.
Right.
There is no stupid question. But I think we are going to go in sort of an order as we go through this, as far as from beginner to setup and as far as getting things going. But then a lot of these things, guys, you know, with settings and different things like that, there is no blanket answer that covers, you know, the number one question I get all the time, whether it's Messenger, whether it's, you know, phone call, text message, whatever, is, hey, I want your settings. How do you get those images? Well, I wish I could print a page and just hand it out to people. That doesn't work. No. And what we're going to do is we're not going to give you our settings per se. We're going to give you the knowledge for you to get your settings for your body of water, for your area, for your lake, for your river, so you can see what you want to see. And when things change in your area, like they change
how to
all the
adjust,
time, how to adjust. That's what it's all about, guys. It's not all about what am I doing, what's Rick doing, what's Terry, you know, it doesn't matter. We need to know how to adjust on the fly and adjust our own equipment.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, Brent brings up a good point there. Everybody sees it different. We don't all see the graph the same way. It may look different from Brent's eye than my eye.
Correct.
I can't tell you how many times I've jumped in somebody else's boat that's very good at tuning their graphs, and the first thing I do is start pushing their buttons to make it fit me.
Correct.
To make it fit my eye better. It wasn't that his settings were bad, it just didn't fit me.
Correct. And in time, I'm going to tell a really neat story about Terry Blankenship and I. You know, not right now. We don't have time for it today. But I'm going to tell a really neat story. That's going to get a lot of people to realize, not to use the old phrase, but there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Absolutely.
And you know, he looked at me one day and said, "I didn't know you could do that way." And he explained to me how he did things, and I had to say the same thing back to him.
Didn't know you could go that way.
Correct. And both of us, you know, are along the lines of thinking we're very efficient with our units, and there was something right there in front of us we didn't know was available. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff we're going to get into, and just kind of some neat little stories, and, you know, we're going to have fun with this deal. I mean, this is
I'm already having fun with it, you know, with all the all the people joining in.
Absolutely.
And you go, guys, Tom, are we going to do a Q&A in this show?
Absolutely, yeah. So first of all, I want to thank you guys that are tuning in a little later for watching tonight. Do us a favor and hit that invite button on your screen there, and invite some people into the live broadcast that may not either be in the show already or even in the Graphmasters group. So hit that invite button, give us some thumbs up if you want to. And then definitely one other thing, we want to know where you guys are from. So put in the comments there, either what lake you fish the most or just where you're from as far as area of the country or whatnot. But yeah, we're going to definitely open this up for Q&A. We got the live feed right here on the computer. We're going to be able to see some of those questions here before too long later on. And if you guys have any questions specifically relating to, you know, how we're getting started with the Graphmasters, real technical stuff, we're going to save those, but just grab us any questions you guys have about what we're doing, and if you guys have any questions about that. So from that, we definitely want to get started and kind of get into what we came here to talk about. You guys want to see this stuff. We're going to start from the very basics again, like I mentioned. Tell us from the box. We get a box of a unit. When we're at the store, I guess, let's back up. How do we determine what unit is best for us?
Depends on the body of water you're fishing.
It depends. Correct.
You know, if I was a saltwater guy, I'm probably not going to go buy a smaller graph. I'm going to want a bigger transducer. You know, I want to be in that Helix 9, 10, or bigger range, or even Solix. You know, Solix Sprint's world. There's so many more options on a Solix. Nothing wrong with the Helix options. There's just a lot more options in a Solix. More screens, more views.
Right. You know, the first thing I'm going to say when it comes to selecting a unit is be honest with yourself as far as two things. Be honest with yourself when it comes to what's my budget and what am I trying to achieve. If I'm trying to achieve, you know, win in tournaments and I've got the money, or I'm trying to, you know, and this is what my budget is, get the biggest screen you can afford. I know that sounds pretty simple, but that's just the truth across the board. Get the biggest screen you can afford. When it comes to like running 360, I definitely recommend the biggest screen there is available on the front of your unit, on the front of your boat to run 360. Secondly, you know, Humminbird offers options in the Helix line where you don't have to buy a side imaging or a down imaging unit if you don't have to have that transducer hooked to that unit. And we're going to go through some of that stuff in a little more detail later on, but that can be a several hundreds of dollar savings to get a different unit but the same screen size.
Right.
And that can all be achieved by understanding the One Boat One network, because we can achieve sharing transducers, you know, through the system. So, you know, that's where I'm going to go to when I select a unit. Now, once I've selected the unit, what do I got to do?
We gotta install it properly. Two things that we want to touch on that are more important than anything, guys. We see lots of questions, and I would say 90% of your troubleshooting questions can be traced to two things. You know, direct clean power to the battery, number one.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't understand that. I pulled power from underneath the dash. It has to be direct clean power.
To the battery.
Yep, to the battery. And I recommend a 12 gauge wire from the back of the unit to the battery directly. Don't run off a bus panel that's got, you know, the accessories, the pump, the live well pumps and everything else, the lights running off of it. Direct clean power. You want a clean image? Run clean power. That's a good way to think about it. Second would be your transducer placement. I can't tell you how many times I see guys putting a transducer way too far off to the side or too high out of the water column and wonder why they're not getting, you know, some good readings as they're starting to take off or you know, get to 4 or 5 miles an hour, is because
Get that disturbance.
they get that disturbance. Yeah, get that. My little twerk to remembering this, as low and as center to the boat as possible.
Absolutely.
And
is where you want it.
Absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to get into that later on in the series. We're going to be doing these videos at least once a month, maybe a few sprinkled in there. But we're going to get actually behind the boat and really show you guys exactly where we feel is the best, that these two feels the best. Let me rephrase that, of how and where to mount these transducers.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, one of the neat dynamics is, you know, Rick runs a Skeeter, I run a Ranger, and the very backs of these boats are all different, and that goes along with, you know, with a Triton, with any other boat, and then we get into the aluminum boats, which we have different obstacles we have to overcome. But there are through-hole transducers, even with side imaging, where we can drill through the boat and mount it. Some boats that allows a great image, like my Ranger, it allows a great
You do
image.
the through hole?
Yeah, I do the through-hole. But sometimes it's even more feasible to mount off the jack plate. Sometimes in your case, with the way the Skeeter's built,
With the bunks, yeah.
yeah, with the sponsons coming back here, you can come off the transom, get low down by the drain plug. I'm sure is where you mounted your transom.
Yeah,
I didn't look at it, but I know that's where you did.
That's
and
where it is.
you know, so we're going to get into all that too. But number one, like Rick said, is the power issue. If you don't have sufficient battery, you know, guys all the time, they got a 24 case battery and they've got 2 or 3 10 to 12 inch units. Guys, I'm not an expert on exact amperage, but I'm going to say that Helix 12 probably pulls about 2.2 amps. My Solix 15 pulls 4 plus.
4 to 5,
yeah. Depending on where you're at with your screen brightness and stuff, 4 to
Yep.
5. You're not going to be able to, I run lithium batteries. You're not going to be able to run high amperage draw units on small weak batteries. You know, I run Pro Guide lithium batteries. I recommend
You run
most
5
people.
or you run 4?
I just run 4 batteries. My 12 volt lithium actually will handle, from Pro Guide, will actually handle my 3 or 4 Solix, depending on which boat I have, for 2 to 3 days, running wide open with my even with my aerators and their stuff running wide open.
That is impressive. Is that a 30? Oh, that's lithium, you said.
It's lithium, but it's very light, but that is an option out there for people. People say, well, it costs a lot of money. Well, it also costs a lot of money to have these units. We want them to run correctly.
Yeah.
So, at the minimum for a boat setup like yours or I recommend AGM 31 series Pro Guide batteries. Those batteries are going to last you all day long, and they're going to have the reserve power. We're not going to burn them out.
Right.
But if we don't run direct, clean wire, let's do good soldered connections. Let's put it. We got to have the correct fuse. The Johnson Outdoors tells us to have.
Because there's a different fuse for every graph.
Every graph, there's a different fuse for your 5-port switch, which we'll get in later. A different fuse for your 360, so on and so forth.
Yep.
That's the first starting point we have to have. And I know a lot of you guys can do this. We do a lot of this ourselves, but we also lean on people like Marine Repair Center.
Oh yeah,
and
great guys.
That goes back to factory authorized dealers and service centers. Anytime you stay with a factory authorized service center, you've got warranty options there. You've got, those people are the people that you really want to, those people need to be handling this. They're educated in this. And, I always recommend they do that first versus trying to do it themselves, unless they really have the tools and the knowledge to do it correctly. This isn't like it was 20 years ago.
Right, and I feel really confident. I've installed many of my friends' graphs and transducers, including my own. And anymore, I don't anymore. Marine Repair, I go to the professionals for it.
Right.
It's not because I can't. It's just I know I'm getting a certified guy installing that. And I never have any issues that way. That's what them guys. I lean on the pros for that stuff.
That's right. That's what they get paid to do. So
Right.
I want you guys to also know we got a beautiful Skeeter here, brand new one. Brent's got a brand new Ranger. We're talking about the biggest and the best of the Helix, biggest and the best of the Solix. We're also going to get into all of the different units that we have, all the way down to the 5s, the 7s, 9s, all that stuff. We got an awesome aluminum boat back there that we're going to get rigged up, tricked out for you guys. So don't think of this as just a high-end budget show. We're going to be going through all of it. It's about you guys. It's not about what we're running. This just happens to be what we are running. So,
and also the Minn Kota, the Minn Kota side of it too. We're going to talk about trolling motors. We're going to talk about Talons, but we're not just going to focus on the new Ultrex.
We might even get into the Helix ice units as winter comes along.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go ice fishing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's do that.
You know,
what are we going to do to go to do that? Someone on there comment and tell us if you are a good ice fisherman. We want to come see you.
Yeah, we'll come down and check you out.
Well, that'd be up. But
Well, that's true.
we'll have to go up because we're in the South. We're in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri. For those of you that don't know, we didn't really mention that, but we'll have to go up to go ice fishing. But
and as we get into things, there's going to be more and more questions that are going to come up that's going to take this into more and more directions. And we have no idea where this is going to go,
No.
guys. You're talking about literally, let's just be real. We're three rednecks in a garage that have been blessed with, good families and good jobs and good lives. And, we come up with this idea and we're bringing it to you guys to try to help and educate.
And that's strictly all it is.
And
It's
that's
an
strictly all
educational.
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's all it is.
Nobody's paying us to be out here and doing
No.
anything. We're just wanting to spread the good word.
Absolutely.
We're in a good position, wanting to spread it around.
Absolutely. And, the thing of it is you and I both have done Graphmasters privately for years, being pro staff for either Johnson Outdoors or Duncan Lewis like I am, because we get phone calls and text messages all the time. As part of what we do, we end up answering these questions individually, and this was a way to bring it to a network to where when one person has a question, I guarantee you there's 5, 20, maybe thousands that have that same question. And now we can bring that question to the forefront of the Johnson Outdoors world, and people can say, oh, okay, I had that same question last week. I'm glad that so-and-so asked that. And that's what I think is going to be neat about this is an avenue to really make it, I don't want to say global, but more nationwide.
it's global. We got people commenting on there earlier in the show from Germany, and
That's awesome.
It's
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
I had the Canadian Water Patrol reach out to me last week on Graphmasters with some questions.
That's awesome.
We're reaching out there. We're getting out there.
Thank you, Facebook.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, Mark Zuckerberg, right? That's right. Allow us to do this for free right now. So, but anyway, let's talk about getting these things powered on. I'm going to jump behind the camera and show you guys kind of how these boys get these things powered on and get them set up a little bit for you. As I said earlier, throw some questions in there. If you guys have some, I'll try to get to a few of those. But again, we appreciate you guys watching, and let's get started.
Yeah. And while Tommy's getting ready there, guys, one thing that we missed that I wanted to go over on that pre-setup installation, besides clean power and proper placement of the transducer, is the leveling of the transducer.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't go as far as a lot of guys do with the coin leveling trick. I'm more of an eyeball guy, mostly because the water's fluid. We're always moving. You know, I like to get it, you know, eyeball level, and then a couple degrees up in the back is where I like to be, Brent.
Absolutely.
Is that how you are? Where are you at on it?
You know, I know how my Ranger sets because I've owned nothing but a Ranger boat for 100 years, and it seems like, and I know how they set in the water, so I can adjust my trailer with my winch and my dolly up front. I adjust my trailer to where I believe it's setting at the same angle that my boat sits in the water. And obviously, if you add Talons or if you add different batteries or a person back here, it's going to set a little different. But for the most part, I know about what that angle is, and I can set that in the shop, and then I can adjust that from there. The nice thing about the through-hole transducer that I run, in the side imaging through-hole, is it mounts to the flat spot of the setback of my Ranger.
So it is.
And it is what it is.
Flat.
And I have done that on, I think, 7 boats in a row now, and it has been picture perfect every time.
Okay.
And it also is protected.
I never thought about that, about the through hole.
Right.
So there's no metal bracket there.
You could shim it if you needed to, you know, up or down one way or the other. You could shim it without compromising the seal of it. Okay. But you know, it's hidden, it's protected, and
you still get good clean images.
I get perfect images, and the neat thing about it is because of where it's at on the setback, it's up from the motor. So I don't have to ever worry about engine interference because of the way the Ranger's built. And we don't have anything on the boat that drops down, you know.
That it's going to be hitting on the side image.
Right, so it's always clear. But it also is protected from, you know, stumps and other debris in the water because they passed it before they would ever have a chance to go up, at least 99.9% of the time. Right. You know, that is an after, I don't want to call it an aftermarket purchase, but that is a purchase after the point of purchase. Which I'm sure could be done with an exchange, which we'll get into the exchange program with transducers, but to best fit your world, because that's really neat what they do for customer service on the exchange program. But
another option.
Absolutely another option. But you know what we're going to do now, I'm going to let Rick take and start you through the startup of his Helix 12. And where we're at is we've got one unit on just in simulator mode, but he's going to take a unit and he is going to turn a unit on that is absolutely restored to defaults, just like you would get it out of the package.
Fresh out of the box, guys. Of course, as we all know, bottom right's the power button. It's going to power this unit on. When it gets to the first initial startup page, I'm going to go ahead and hit menu to get to the beginning, like it's fresh out of the box. So at this point, I'm going to push menu. And so at the beginning, guys, it's all pretty easy stuff. I mean, English, yes, or you know, you want English or you want Spanish. It's the only 2 options that you have. I'm gonna go with English. My max depth. Now I'm an Ozark boy. I fish here in the Ozarks. I never fish over 100 foot of water. So what I like to do personally is I like to take that max depth to 100 foot. Now you could go take it up to 150 foot or what have you, but it'll keep that graph from jumping around. The third one is the water type. I myself choose freshwater. I know guys that fish in fresh water that likes shallow salt water, and they feel like it maybe filters out a little bit more of that. Maybe you have an algae bloom in your lake, and they feel that really filters that out because it filters the salt out of the water. And then, you know, the fourth option is what transducer. So my option that I have on this is just the high and wide Mega SI or just a Mega imaging transducer. So I always go with the high and wide and Mega, and that gets you through the first initial setup, guys. So now we're in the home screen. This is a GPS. I don't have any GPS because I'm here in the shop, but so you can scroll through here and see the different views that Humminbird puts.
How are you scrolling through there?
I'm pushing the view button, guys. The view button. Here's a neat little trick too that a lot of guys don't know. You know, we're scrolling through here by pushing the view button. let's say I seen something and scrolled past it. To back up, you just push the exit button. Will take you back a screen.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the. A lot of guys didn't know that.
That's a shortcut.
Yeah, just a shortcut. You know, not only that, but you got presets here. You know, this is one of my favorite screens where I can see the DI and the 2D at the same time, and I'm going to save that. How you save that is just push the top preset button, hold it down. It's just like a radio. You can get your favorite stations, all you want, and once again, you know, you can just scroll through here, find what you guys like. Everybody's a little different. And save your favorite presets. You know, if you wanted a full 2D screen, just hold that down. It'll save it for you. Now, a lot of mapping, but we can also push the view button and get one more. Or if we went back to original, you can push the exit and get the one before that.
What if we have a view or a page on our view scroll that we know we're never going to need, Rick? Can we get rid of that? Can we hide it?
Absolutely.
Real
guys.
quick, let's show us how to turn down the light here, because I'm getting a little backlit.
Okay, you're a little bright for you?
Yep, a little bright.
So, yep, we may be getting carried away here, guys. We're excited about this, and we're probably talking a little fast. So, you know, you can always push the power button one time, and it'll bring up another quick menu to adjust the light, to turn your sonar off and on, or to put this in standby mode. So I'm going to turn the light down a little bit for this for Tom. Tell me when you like it, Tom.
That's good.
Right there. And you can adjust your lighting there. You can go to night mode, which automatically dims it to a certain number. I can turn my 360 off and on, and I can also put it in standby mode. And I use standby mode, guys, from when I'm leaving the back of the boat to go up front to go fishing. I put it in standby mode. And all you got to do is arrow over. Now, you're going to go up to the front and do your thing. When you're done, you're getting ready to move to the next spot and you want to graph it. It's real simple. Just touch that bottom power button. It'll get you back going again.
Why do you put that in standby mode, Rick?
I do it personally to get rid of the interference I might possibly have up front, number one. Number two, I do it because I want to conserve that battery as much as possible.
Awesome.
Because I got a lot of electronics on this boat, from live wells to graphs to 360 to Talons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, by putting that thing in standby mode, whether it's Helix or Solix, like you said, you're conserving power, any crosstalk interference, but, you know, if you're in a shallow water situation, obviously you don't need that back here, and we get rid of that ping, that noisy ping there. And a lot of guys, and I'm one of them, when I'm flipping bushes or I'm fishing shallow, you know, I don't need that thing running anyway, but it's also a noise factor that maybe I don't want to.
Right, yeah.
So, you know,
It's all the little things that add up at the end of the day.
It can be. And that may be in our heads, but it's in a lot of guys' heads that I know of. And
I've seen that discussion
neat.
today.
That's neat. That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Got any questions?
We do have a question. Yep, absolutely. Awesome. So Randall Winston wants to know, mentioning clean power, do you recommend going through the master power switch, running the network system? Oh my goodness, this is a big old question.
We can handle it.
Yeah. Or would you separate the graphs out and put everything on its own switch?
I don't put anything on an actual switch. I run it directly from the unit to the battery, period, end of story. I use the power button on the unit is my switch.
Yep. And I know that's where you're probably going with that question, is you want to be able to kill all the graphs with one switch. If you want direct clean power, that's not the route I'd go.
No. And remember, guys, anytime you use any type of connection electrically, whether you're running a vacuum cleaner or you're running a Helix 12, the more connections, the more distance of connections, or the more, you know, the numbers of soldering connections and different things we do, the more power drop we're going to have. Most bass boats, I don't care what brand it is, will show a voltage on your dash for the engine.
Yep.
You're probably idling at 13.8, 14.1 with a 31 series battery that's freshly charged. Your display on your Humminbird is probably going to be, when it's running, when it starts up, you're probably in low 13s to high 12, something like that. Depends on a lot of things. Well, that's already 1.5 below what is actually being produced at the engine.
Right.
So we're already going to have a drop in power from point A to point B. So let's eliminate any of those points of connection we can. That's all we're saying, guys, is eliminate as many as you can. And not every boat's the same.
Yeah, I've seen some that guys got them wired right underneath the dash and work great, but I've seen a lot more issues with it being wired underneath the dash.
Correct. And I dealt with this yesterday. There at Marine Repair Center, I watched those guys rigging a boat. They ran power right to the console. The power cord coming from Johnson Outdoors with the new Helix was several feet long. They cut that down.
Take more, yeah.
Take more of that out of there. There's no sense in having an 8 or 10 foot power cord of 18 gauge wire that you only need to run 1.5 feet to the cable collector to the back of the unit. So the shortest distance between 2 points, not only is it a straight line, but it's the most power.
Right.
And that's all we're saying, guys, is the best you can do to get from point A to point B.
Direct clean power.
Quick and easy.
Yep.
Correct.
Thank you, Randall, for your question. Tanner, we got another question from Tanner Wimberly. We talked about the aluminum boats having a little bit of different set of issues as far as mounting the transducers and things like that. He's wondering what you guys meant by that.
Well, my first thing that I'm thinking is a lot of aluminum boats don't have a jack plate or an offset of any kind as far as setting the motor back further, and you'll have an issue with that transducer. You should always mount it to the right side because of prop wash, right, Brent?
Correct.
So when you're mounting that transducer offset to the right side, it will normally hit the bottom side of the motor. It'll
Correct.
hit, and it'll start giving you, that double echo there in the water column that you're not seeing past it. So, and to combat that, we recommend raising, the motor up as best as you can, and also, once again, the same thing that we discussed earlier, as low and as center to the boat as possible. And I think that's the issue he's talking about. Could you think of any other?
Well, also, when we talk about a fiberglass boat, we just kind of gloss over it because you and I are used to it. But there's actually 2 transducers we're running back there. We've got an epoxied in what they call a high-speed through-hole transducer. And that is actually epoxied in the bottom of our fiberglass boats that shoots through the fiberglass. It's not drilled through as the SI transducer you and I were talking about earlier.
So we can get speeds, or get a reading at speed.
Right, and that is connected to our SI transducer via what they call a Y cable.
Okay.
So it goes into one connection. With an aluminum boat, you cannot shoot through the hole. So you are limited to the one transducer off the transom of the boat, as Rick was referring to. So that's the difference. So the challenges we face are, number one is getting you depth and reading at speed. And the next thing is getting either interference or just level and location, depending on the type of aluminum boat, based on the shape of the transom. Some of them V out a lot more, gives you very small windows of opportunity down by the drain plug, directly underneath that motor. There's going to be an area to the starboard side of that motor, and then some of them you've only got a 6x6 square.
Right.
And if you try to build any brackets or do anything to lower it below the level of the bottom of the transom, you're just going to go at risk of breaking something with a stump or something like that.
Integrity of the transducer, you're going to be risking.
Those are the issues when we come to aluminum boats that we're talking about. And we're going to be showing you some pictures and different things of that. But that's the challenges that we look at when we talk about aluminum boats.
And a real quick thing on that aluminum boat, I see a lot of guys. I do have an aluminum boat, but I see a lot of guys using these mounting boards, and so that just having to put 2 screws in the boat. That way, if they have to move that transducer, they're not putting a bunch more holes every time they have to move that transducer. They're just screwing into that mounting board.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, have you seen those?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they can use real high quality plastic.
Yeah.
Versus wood, so it doesn't ever have an issue.
Right.
They can use metal. And there's obviously people a lot smarter than you and I that come up with ways to mount these. And
the one way to skin a cat, right?
That's right. And we're going to be showing you some of those, and we're going to have viewers and members of this thing in this Graphmaster family that they're going to be sending us pictures of all these types of things we talk about, and that's where we're going to be able to turn around and not only just talk about your question, Tanner, but show you what a lot of our people have done to resolve that problem with your particular brand of boat.
Yeah, and not to get ahead of ourselves where the Graphmasters is going, guys, but we had talked as a group. We're wanting to create an album in our Graphmaster group that you can go through there for troubleshooting questions. It's going to be in a picture in a troubleshooting album as a picture. I think that's a pretty good idea. Before you may come on there looking for a question to be answered, you can go through that troubleshooting album and see if your answer's in there.
Let us know what you guys think about that. Let us know some of the things that you guys run into a lot that you want to see in those albums, so that we can get those updated. And we're going to be working on that here before too long. We got a lot going on, guys. It's brand new for us, brand new for you guys. So everything you guys can add to us and let us know what you guys want to see is going to be better off for everybody. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Tanner,
help steer the ship.
that's right. Tanner says, thanks very much for the question. He does get some interference off the left side of his side imager, so
Yep, and he will.
that should get you a little bit better off there. So, well, is there anything else you wanted to show us on?
Oh,
the
I could
unit?
go on all night.
Oh yeah.
How
Let's
far do you
see.
want to go?
Let's see if we got any other questions here.
And Brent, the next session we're probably gonna do it on Solix's, guys. We're gonna be behind Brent's boat, and it'll be a good time whenever we decide to do that show to get your Solix questions out there, because
Right.
I'm not gonna say there's not just as many questions with the Helix, but there's a lot of options on a Solix.
Well, there is a lot of options, and the number one question I get is we're kind of in this introductory show. Obviously, we're going a little bit here and there on topic, and we do that a lot. As graph heads or whatever you want to call us, we do that a lot, and people ask me all the time, why do you choose Solix over Helix, or why do you choose Helix over Solix? Or the menu and the software setup itself. It's been around for 10, 12 years.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to the
Same platform.
897s and the 997s and 999s that I had before. It's the exact same thing. So anybody that is used to that system, that operating system, used to those 3 preset buttons, used to that cursor, they really benefit from the fact that Humminbird has not changed that platform, if you will, over the years. The Solix system is quite a bit different, as you said. It also offers touchscreen. It's not a unit that has to be touchscreen. It's called cross-touch, where you can either use this touchscreen or use, the different functions on the
Use
keyboard.
the buttons, yeah.
Right. So that's a question I get a lot, and we're gonna go into that. Is there a right and wrong purchase for a certain application? Absolutely not. Both units will put out virtually the same images, depending on, there's a few minor differences that some of us get into, but you're going to get, virtually the same resolution, if you will, in pictures from one to the other. It's more of a budget, it's more of a personal preference, because the Solix is quite a bit higher dollar unit, and it does draw more battery, as we said earlier. So there's a lot of variables that go into that situation, not just, am I picking Chevy or Ford here type of deal.
Right. Yeah. No, it's all good stuff. I'm excited about all of it.
Absolutely.
Like you said, which way do we steer this ship?
Right.
We could go so many directions and show so many things. We could rattle on all night about it.
Oh yeah.
We wanted to get this first show out of the way, guys. Tell you a little bit about us, what we're trying to do with the show, where we're thinking about going with it. But we don't know. We would love to hear some suggestions on where you guys think we ought to go with it.
Yep, we're going to look for some feedback after the show, definitely in the comments. If you joined us late, jump back on and watch the beginning of the show. But throw some comments in there. We'll put a post up after this just asking you guys what you guys thought of the show, what suggestions you have, things like that. So we can kind of steer this in whatever direction you guys want to see it in, because it's not about us.
Right.
It's not about Brent. It's not about Tom. It's not about Rick. It's about Humminbird, Minn Kota products, and helping you guys be more educated with those things. And we're just sharing what we know. Like we said at the beginning of this, we're not the experts on this. We don't know everything there is to know, but these two guys know pretty much everything there is to know. Let's just be honest about that.
We'll get stumped, I promise you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll be glad to think that way until somebody proves me different, which they do on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
But
The nice thing, guys, too, is we have a network that's absolutely monstrous.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Our reach is big.
Yeah.
We've got guys that I didn't even know were out there that I've met, and I say met, via Facebook and this whole site in the last few weeks that are like, these guys are good.
Yeah.
These guys like Journey and Kevin Franklin and
Puppy Chow.
Puppy
awesome.
Chow. These guys are like and what's funny is when you have a discussion with them, we've all got a little different something to bring to the table, And we're going to incorporate those guys. Obviously, we've got a big network of people that's going to be coming into this deal.
Yeah, guys from guys that tune their grass for catfish, for crappie, for bass. We've got them all, and we are going to go.
Yeah,
saltwater.
We're going to go
saltwater. We're going to get it all, and we're going to get it out there to you guys.
Right, and when we get it out there to these guys, where are we going to get it out there to them at? Where are we at?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we have a Facebook page, which you're watching this on. We have an Instagram page, which I want you guys all go check out if you guys have an Instagram page.
Awesome.
We may be doing a little session there later on, some more Q&A, just kind of a post-game wrap-up later on these different shows that we do. So definitely go check it out there, Instagram, and it's The Graphmasters. We're on YouTube, The Graphmasters as well. And then we're going to expand, just keep on going. We have a website, www.thegraphmasters.com. We're going to have a bunch of apparel up there. You guys see all the stuff we got going on right now. We got some really cool ideas and a lot of cool stuff coming out with that. So you guys will be able to get some of that apparel that we're wearing, as well as just some other stuff that we're going to design especially for you guys. So we want to thank you guys for watching tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know you guys did, because we're up to like 80-something people on this deal and have been for the entire time. So
that's awesome.
Really, really appreciate you guys watching. Feel free, again, continue sharing this broadcast, and we're going to throw this whole thing on YouTube, I hope, and so that you guys can watch it there as well, but it'll always be on the Graphmasters Facebook page. So
Awesome.
For the time being, I'm Tom Lloyd, Rick Fishback.
Brent Aljo, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for your support, guys.